Hagarim Sameach, most importantly, Shabbat Shalom. I'm so glad that you're here to join us this evening, and I hope that you're staying warm. Thank God for these houses and apartments and rooms that are keeping our bodies safe in such frigid cold. And it's my greatest wish that all might be given that opportunity, that no one would feel this brutal cold. We're going to begin our services with a little ditty that Rabbi Craig Morantz introduced us to. It's called Am I Awake? And it goes something like this. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Are you there? La 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 ya 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 la 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 ya la la. I am very blessed to have my daughter Emma Friedman home from college, and because she was here, I said, well, I don't think you have a choice this evening. You have to join me for Shabbat. So she's come with a guitar in hand, and I'm very, very grateful. All right, I know that you've lit your Hanukkah. I see it, the slide right up here, and we're going to go on then to light our Shabbat candles. People have asked me, well, why? Why must you light your Shabbat candles after you light a Hanukkah? And that's because the prohibition for bringing in kindling fire in your habitations is the bracha that we do after we kindle the lights of Shabbat. So we can't break the prohibition by lighting up our Hanukkah after that blessing's been said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Our cups overflow with the joy and blessing of this Sabbath day and the rest that is to follow. If you would like, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu Shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'harta ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים. And before, we sing Lecha Dodi, I'd like to invite you to enjoy this beautiful poem. To worship is to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in the sunlight, or a grain of sand. To worship is to work with dedication and skill. It is to pause from work and listen to a strain of music. Worship is loneliness seeking communion. It is a thirsty land crying out for rain. Worship is kindred fire in our hearts. It moves through deeds of kindness and acts of love. Worship is the mystery within us, reaching out to the street beyond. It is an inarticulate silence yearning to speak. It is the window of the moment, opened to the sky of the eternal. Lecha dodi likrat kala, panei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamur v'zachur b'dibur echad, hishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, panei Shabbat nekabela. All right. We rise physically or spiritually for our Baruch Hu. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. It is evening, and children slowly dream away the storms of day. It is evening, and stars glow gently in the quiet heavens. Can we understand a dream? Find a net to capture the meaning of a glowing star. What bridge spans the vast space we must cross to reach understanding? How small are we who attempt the journey, and yet somehow we learn to find our glory in a brave and endless struggle to comprehend eternal mysteries. We are voyagers in an infinite sea, our destiny always beyond the horizon. But we are voyagers. This beautiful reading that talks about dreams, well, how could we not look at this particular reading when we get to the Torah and dreams become such an important part of the Joseph story? So that's just a little teaser about where we're going later on in our service. The Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Thank you, Emma. We continue with the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha ושננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, לדורותם ברית olam. It is indeed an oath, a sign between our people, that we might take a moment to take stock, to pray, to be grateful for all that is ours and all that we have yet to do. And one of the things that we are commanded to do is make this world better. And so this particular song we sing is one of joy, but also one of great hope. As it's Hanukkah, it's customary to sing the Micha Mocha to the tune of Ma'ot Zur. Ba, 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 ba. Goes a little bit like this. Mi hamacha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamacha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. All right, it's time for our standing prayers, and we do that either physically or spiritually. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, ve'Elohei Rachel. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei ha'akol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii gula livnei v'neihem, L'ma'an shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshe u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah, Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechakel chayim b'chesed, Mechayeh hakol b'rachamim rabim, Somach noflim ve'rofeh cholim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayem emunato l'shanei afar. Mi chamacha ba'al givrot, u'midomalach, Melech mimit umchayei, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yerlucha, Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. I invite you to take a moment where you examine the inner workings of your heart and say what you want to say. We'll be back in just a moment, but for now, silence. If you haven't had the chance to read Mary Oliver's poems, boy, are you missing something. She is quite extraordinary, and the poem on the slides is just right. Yehiyu leratzon imrefi v'higyon libi lefaneha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri v'goali v'goali. All right, I've decided that do my remarks first. Makes sense to me today to do that. And I'm going to have to toggle back and forth. So I'm not a professional toggler, but I'm going to do my very best to get back where we were in the slides. So wish me luck when we get there. But this particular Shabbat is Shabbat Miketz. It's also Hanukkah, and it's Rosh Chodesh, the new month of Tevet. In a traditional shul, it would mean that we would read from 3 Torah scrolls this Shabbat, something which is done rather infrequently in the course of a Jewish year. Let's focus on the most important observance, the observance of Shabbat. The reading, Parshat Miketz, that I will chant in a moment, tells the story of Joseph and his brothers as he plays a cat and mouse game with them in Egypt. He recognizes them immediately, but they don't recognize him. Rabbi Arthur Levinsky points out, despite many dramatic turns in Joseph's life, as a slave, a prisoner, an interpreter of dreams, as a high official in Pharaoh's court, Joseph not only survived, he thrived. When famine struck and his brothers made the journey to Egypt to purchase grain, little did they know that they were petitioning their long-lost brother, whom they had wronged many years earlier. The Torah explicitly states that they did not recognize him, yet Joseph recognized his brothers. How is this possible? The simplest explanation is that many years had passed. Joseph had not only matured, but was dressed in Egyptian garb, the clothing of nobility. But various rabbis also add that there might be other factors contributing to the brothers' failure to recognize Joseph. For example, Sforno maintained that Joseph's tone was harsh as opposed to his customary soft-spoken nature. Maimonides believed that they were in the presence of Egyptian aristocracy and could not have imagined that this was possibly their long-lost brother. Rashbam believed that Joseph was speaking the Egyptian language and that an intermediary who translated back and forth between Joseph and his brothers. Interestingly, Genesis Rabbah, the Midrash on Genesis, identifies the interpreter as Menashe, Joseph's oldest son. According to Rabbi Ilana Kirshen, earlier in the parsha, we learned that Joseph gave his son this name from the Hebrew word, made me forget, Nashani. Joseph named his firstborn son Menashe, meaning God has made me forget my hardship and my parental home. Genesis Rabbah 41:51. The use of Menashe, as the interpreter suggests, that an act of willful forgetting stands between Joseph and his brothers. Regardless of the reason, the narrative develops so well precisely because Joseph's identity was well hidden from his brothers, points out Rabbi Baruch Cohen. Because of this, he was able to toy with them. For example, Joseph demands they bring their youngest brother to see him. He holds Shimon hostage until they return with Joseph's full brother Benjamin, the product of Jacob and his beloved wife, Rachel. He then frames Benjamin for stealing by having his servants plant his divination cup in Benjamin's pack, and demands the brothers leave Benjamin to be his slave while they fetch their father. Judah pleads for Benjamin's life, offering his own in return, and Joseph has to retreat to his private study to weep. He determines they've improved over the years and that they regretted what they had done to him. Later, we learn that his brothers were indeed repentant, and this led to their reconciliation. So why the ruse and the trickery on Joseph's part? It's imperative that before Joseph accepts his brothers back into his heart, that he has some proof that they're not the same men who placed him in a pit and sold him off. Can you imagine that amount of trauma meted out by one's own family? And yet stories abound of pain and trauma folks suffer at the hands of those who are supposed to love them most. This comes into sharp focus around the holidays, which commingle sometimes joy and dread at the thought of returning home. Compounding this is the grief, the sorrow, and sometimes the relief of those missing from around the holiday table. Although there's nothing to point to in this particular story that unpacks it, as it were, unpacks Joseph's feelings in reuniting, the brothers are unsure Joseph is truly glad for the reconnection. It's impossible that Joseph can forget the trauma. The name he's given his older son is clearly proof of his desire, but it would be unimaginable that such a tall order could be achieved. What is possible? And the word of hope I give anyone who feels this particular struggle keenly around this time of year is the blessing of healing and the courage to rebuild after the inevitable dark moments in our own lives. During the Shabbat of Hanukkah, may we all see the illumination not just of the Hanukkahot, but the divine spark that makes us both resilient and strong. Shabbat Shalom. All right, now the toggling, which I said I was not too good at, and I wasn't necessarily kidding. All right, we're going to go like this and like this, and we're going to share our screen. Oh my goodness. Who would think any of us would even know how to do all of this crazy stuff? I was a person who was firmly believed that even word processing might be a bit beyond me, but here we are. Each person has a Torah unique to that person, his or her innermost teaching. Some seem to know their Torahs very early in life and speak and sing them in a myriad of ways. Others spend their whole lives stammering, shaping, and rehearsing them. Some are long, some are short. Some are intricate and poetic, others only a few words, and still others can only be spoken through gesture and example. But every soul has a Torah. To hear another say Torah is a precious gift. For each soul, by the time of his or her final hour, the Torah is complete. The teaching is done. All right, please join me in the Shema that we sing before the reading of Torah. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. And the blessing before the reading of Torah. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach, Baruch Adonai hamavorach leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. פרשת מקץ. ויכינו את המנחה עד בוא יוסף בצהריים, כי שם יאכלו לחם. ויבוא יוסף הביתה, ויביאו לו את המנחה אשר בידם הביתה, וישתחוו לו ארצה. וישאל להם לשלום, ויאמר השלום אביהם הזקן אשר אמרתם, העודנו חי. ויאמרו שלום לעבדך לאבינו עודנו חי. ויקדו וישתחוו, וישא עיניו וירא את בנימין אחיו בן אמו, ויאמר הזה אחיכם הקטן אשר אמרתם אלי. ויאמר אלוהים יחנך בני. ומהר יוסף כי נחמרו רחמיו אל אחיו, ויבקש לבכות. ויבוא החדרה ויבק שמה. They laid out their gifts to await Joseph's arrival at noon, for they had heard that they were to dine there. When Joseph came home, they presented to him the gifts that they had brought with them into the house, bowing low before him to the ground. He greeted them, and he said, "How is your aged father, of whom you spoke? Is he still in good health? Is he still chai, alive?" They replied, "It is well with your servant our father. He is still in good health." And they bowed and made obeisance. Looking about, he saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and asked, "Is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke to me?" And he went on, "May God be gracious to you, my boy." With that, Joseph hurried out, for he was overcome with feelings towards his brother, and he was on the verge of tears. He went into a room, and he wept there. You can only imagine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. We think, of course, about those who are struggling physically, struggling mentally, and our hearts go out to all of them. This list is not at all comprehensive, but will serve as just a representation of all the people we are thinking about in this moment, and hope for everyone's return to health. Aviva Eliza, Jody Ashenhertz, John Archer, David Burchett, Avraham Ben Bluma, Jeremy Canigula, Amanda Clemens, George Dean, Stephen Engelman, Craig Freeman, Eslin Garb, Marcy Gelber, Phyllis Goldblatt, Don Grandolfo, Nancy Hagen Goldstucker, Alan Hyman, Carl Kalben, Jeffrey Krause, Joseph Kreplik, Molly Levin, Cherie Lucor, Miriam Lyon, Gerald Marks, Deborah Miller, Eileen McNichols, Sharon Montesi Garskoff, Irene Nober Stack, Lois Pavlon, Alan Sager, Casey Siengo, Fred Skier, Kristen Rouse Skinner, Tali Stein, Levana Orobot Svetlana, Cameron Michael Taft, Eddie Tucker, Avraham Ben Sivia, Edith Vosevsky, Sally Waitley, Yosef Raphael, Ben Yehudit. Mi sheberach avotenu b'kor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. All right, we're coming to the very end of our service, and this, the Aleinu prayer, and we invite you to rise physically or spiritually. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כהמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Judaism teaches us to understand death as part of the divine pattern of the universe. Actually, we could not have our sensitivity without fragility. Mortality is the tax that we pay for the privilege of love, thought, creative work, the toll on the bridge of being from which clods of earth and snow-peaked mountains' summits are exempt. Just because we are human, we are prisoners of the years. Yet that very prison is the room of discipline in which we, driven by the urgency of time, create. Our community remembers Randolph Borer, Jenny Brown, Craig Abraham Chandler, Esther Cohen, Ann Copeland, Max Davidson, Frederick Doppelt, Harry Fagan, Frida Forst, Maynard Garfinkel, Jacob Golden, Rose Hensel, Morris Hecht, Fanny Keeler, Henny Collins, Ida Crevo, Fania Kuksina, Louise Stein Lang, Piri Newman, Simcha Niemann Olson, Sadie Orenstein, Beatrice Perlman, Rose Popple, Gal Sangerman, Leonard, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Leonard Schulman, Florence Silverman, Louis K. Stein, Benjamin Urist, Edwin Weinberger, and in recent days, Sherwin Pakin, Joyce Weiner, and Reuben, Louis. They are all with us, even though it is not in the way we wish. And so these words reminding us of our mission. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imeru, Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei alamaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha brihu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imeru, Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba bin Shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru, Amen. Oseh shalom bibramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all of you who are bereaved among us. And let us all say, Amen. Oseh shalom bimrama, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, hu ya'aseh shalom. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, hu ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, hu ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. If this season is challenging, I want you to know our community is here to support you. May the light and gladness come into your lives as you open your heart up to it, and understanding that even in the midst of great joy, there can also be great sorrow. I wish you a peaceful Shabbat Shalom, Chag Urim Sameach, Happy Hanukkah.